This episode is sponsored today by the book 10 Tips on How to Survive Your Parents' Divorce. This book was written by kids. It's for kids. It's a coloring book. When you have a tragedy of divorce and you have young children who do not know how to express themselves, this coloring book, 10 Tips on How to Survive Your Parents' Divorce, is the coloring book for them. Pick it up today at blendingthefamily.com or even on Amazon. 10 Tips on How to Survive Your Parents' Divorce. Again, written by kids, for kids.
Welcome to Blending the Family, the podcast. Topics can range from dads hitting rock bottom, daughters watching their parents divorce, or even what is a good wine for couples to have while talking about finances. Here's your host, who was once an emergency backup goalie for a professional hockey team. Yeah, I don't believe it either. Tommy Maloney.
Yes, it is true. I was once an emergency backup goalie for a professional team. Hello, welcome to this episode of Blending the Family, the podcast. I am your host, Tommy Maloney. And maybe one day I'll bust out that story. But in the meantime, in the between time, thank you. Thanks for listening to this podcast. I really appreciate it. I am going to be honest with you. What you're about to hear, I started recording in the car. So this was one of those episodes of driving while podcasting. But a good friend of mine gets a little nervous. My buddy Scott, who you'll hear a lot of plugs for Scott. Okay, maybe I have a little bro crush. You all right? Hey, it's okay. I'm a man. I'm confident in my manhood. All right, but Scott was a little nervous at times because of our weather here in Colorado. And this episode you're about to hear started, as I said, I started recorded in the car, but the weather started to change and I put the kibosh on it. But the gist, the foundation of this episode, I talk a lot about finances because this is where I really feel that as not just parents, and I mentioned this in this episode, but not just parents, but even if you don't have kids, what is your relationship with money? What is your relationship with finances? Do you have those conversations with your spouse? If you're dating somebody, have you had these conversations of having and building a healthy relationship with money? I've also included in the show notes the column where I write for the Good Men Project, and one of the weekly columns I talked about for dads specifically, are you having those conversations with your kids about how to build finances? Are you building a healthy financial what's the word I'm trying to say? I don't know. But I've included that article in the show notes. Also on this episode, you'll get to hear me stumble going to my car. We're playing this game at work. And I can't remember the name of what we call it, but I think we call it Assassin. I don't know. But it's fun. It's a lot of fun. And you'll hear me stumble my way to the car, being all paranoid, making sure I don't get assassinated. And as I said, this episode I talk about finances because I think it's important. I think it's important to have those conversations with your kids, even younger kids. Have those conversations, and build a healthy relationship early on. And my personal goal for our kids is that they don't have the struggles that I've gone through or the struggles that Ann and I are going through right now. And hopefully one day all three of those kids will become multi-billionaires and go, you know what, Tommy? You've been good to me. Here's $1 million. Just go crazy. Wow. How cool would that be? I know I've had these conversations with my dad too, going, one day when you make millions of dollars, hope you don't forget the old man. And I won't. I love my dad. And I love my mom too. And I love my bonus dad too. My dad's girlfriend, a.k.a. Rosie. There you go. It's all about the love, right? All right. Before I let you go, please, however you listen to this podcast, be it Spotify, be it iTunes, be it Stitcher, be it iHeart Radio, Libsyn, however you receive this podcast, please, can you just take a moment and give us a review, a rating? Hopefully I'll be like your Lyft driver and you give me a 5-star rating. I would greatly appreciate it. And as always, if you need me, just email me at tommy@blendingthefamily.com. That's tommy@blendingthefamily.com. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you have a great day. All right. Just need a witness just in case I go to my car and somebody pulls out a spoon. Welcome to another edition of Blending the Family, the podcast. I am your host, Tommy Maloney, walking to my car from the day job. In my left hand, I have my telephone, cell phone, whatever you want to call it, mobile. In the right hand, I have a plastic spoon. Yes, a plastic spoon. Why? Why do you ask? A plastic spoon? I will tell you why. Life is meant to be fun, and I'm discovering a new game, and I have to keep an eye out to make sure no assassins come and get me as I'm walking to my car. My buddy Scott has set up a game for us at work, and once you leave work, you can be assassinated. Hence, the spoon. The spoon is is my weapon of choice. And this seems like a really weird game, but so far it's been pretty fun. And again, off school grounds, you can be assassinated. And I'm not going to go into great detail because I'm going to confuse you and confuse myself. But as I'm walking to my car, spoon in hand, just need to make sure that no assassin is out. Ooh, I need my car keys. Oh, and I left my gloves at my desk. Son of a gun. All right. I think the coast is clear. Yeah, nobody around. So you don't get to hear me being assassinated as I'm walking to my car. But let me just grab the car keys. Oh gosh, sorry about that. I thought I was prepared for class, but where'd I put them? What did I do with my car keys? Well, this is embarrassing, kids. There they are. All right, and I want to grab some notes. I made notes for this podcast episode, and we do have a point. We're going to talk about, on this episode, apparently something you're not supposed to say to your kids. I'm really want to know your opinion on this. And even you parent, or non-parents, I should say, even you non-parents would love to know your opinion. All right. In the car. All right. And turn that off. Let's get some heat on this car. All right. Let me quickly go through my notes real quick. And I'm sure my buddy Scott is cringing because he said to me today, he goes, quit driving in bad weather or podcasting in bad weather. I'm like, gotta have fun. So that quick but heartfelt thank you for everybody who's been listening to the podcast. I am just incredibly grateful. And I believe I have a free gift. If you go to blendingthefamily.com, the website, and you sign up for the newsletter that I need to produce once again, I believe you automatically get a document. I can't remember the document off the top of my head right now, but it will be a thank you to you for listening to the podcast. So thank you. I'm so grateful. Talked about the game of work and getting out of... these are notes I was listening to. Why do I have... I don't know what I'm talking... All right. Well, anyway, one of the things I'm thinking about is... because we were talking about finances, or I have been talking about finances a lot lately. Number one, it's been since the last episode, my wife and I received our taxes back, and unfortunately, in the previous episode, I talked about how I was not getting any money back, and that is my own fault. I'm not going to let... I'm not going to get on my high horse as far as not going to let society dictate to me as far as playing the victim. Listen, I was out of work. These things happen, and life goes on. No matter how hard the struggle is, you've got to keep moving forward. Just got to keep moving forward and not quitting, not stopping. And I felt that after receiving the news of not receiving any money back from the government, which, you know what, life goes on. Like I just said, you keep moving forward. And one of the things I started thinking about is, well, do you talk to your kids about your financial situation? Do you talk to them about maybe work-related or personal issues? And when I say talk to your kids, let's keep it a time frame or the age frame of maybe these are teenagers or preteens, and what can you say to them? And I remember a time, my son Connor was probably right around 5. I was right, or maybe it was before the divorce. But he and I remember we were at McDonald's for breakfast. And there was a gentleman behind us talking to a young child. I want to say probably right around the same age as Connor, probably 4, maybe 5 at the oldest. And he was laying down to this young child, this young boy, why his parents' marriage didn't work out, and this guy went into great detail, and I really wish I had said, dude, come on. He's not a psychiatrist. He's not going to help you. Why are you pouring your personal issues on this young child? But for some reason today, I started thinking about, I had a conversation with Connor last night about finances. I talked to him about, car about to cut me off. All right. Sorry, Scott. Still driving and podcasting. But I was talking to Connor about finances and how he wanted a hockey stick, a goalie hockey stick. And, my wife, Ann, and I, we go through our budget, and, I told him, I said, sorry, dude, I don't have the money for it. It's not in the budget. And as a parent, as a dad, even more as a man, you can't afford something. Well, what's wrong with you? Is, all those things that were playing in my head. And I had a conversation with Connor. I said, you understand why I couldn't pay for the stick? And he was, yeah, I get it. It wasn't in the budget. I get it. You guys do budgets, and it wasn't in the budget. I'm like, oh my gosh. Soon to be 15. He's a wise man. And one of the things I wrote for my weekly column on the Good Men Project, I, again, been on this financial kick, And my thought process was, I don't want our kids to go through the same financial struggles that Ann and I go through. And one of the things we tried to incorporate in our household, and this is something you can do as well. And even if you're not a parent, again, I'm trying to think more of that on these podcasts because, not only at the day job am I finding, again, not to make this the Scott show, but I'm going to talk to Scott. Scott, thank you so much for sharing this podcast with the people at work. So I know Scott listens, I know Jamie listens, I know Mark listens, and Daniel. So Scott, thank you. You are the best PR person I can have, and this is why I want to consciously talk. You can't be everything to everybody. I get it, but I want to make a conscious effort on this particular podcast to talk a little bit more in depth about how to have a healthy relationship with your finances. And that was, again, part of my weekly column on the Good Men Project was talking about having a healthy relationship. And you have to understand, what does money mean to you? You really need to come from that direction of, what does money mean to you? And for me, it's always been, my view is a negative, because growing up, both my mom and dad didn't have a lot of money, and so that's where my relationship with money comes into play. And I don't want our kids to let me phrase that. I want our kids to have a healthy relationship with money and understand what money means to them, as far as when you get it, well, what are the benefits of having it? What can you do with it to produce something good? Okay. And one of the tips I put in the article was what we tried to do with the Wonder Twins, Becca and Connor, was we had a 3-ring binder, and in that 3-ring binder there were 4 of those plastic pockets. They don't have to be zippered. They can be like the Ziploc type thing, but 4 plastic pockets went into this 3-ring binder. And the way it was broken down was pocket number 1 was tithing, pocket number 2 was short-term goal, pocket number 3 was long-term goal, and pocket number 4 was fun money. Okay, so tithing, I believe, I'm not a religious historian by any means, but I believe it's 10%. Okay, so 10%, and what we told the kids was, as far as tithing goes, that's your decision as far as where you want to put your money as far as charity goes. It could be your church. It could be a charity of some sort. So I believe Becca stuck with the church that we go to, and Connor wanted to donate his tithing money to cancer research, juvenile cancer. With the 4 pockets, though, one thing I have to emphasize is this is where you sit down with the kids, or if you're doing this for yourself, you get extra cash. Maybe this is something you do as well, and you need to figure out what percentage each pocket is. Okay, so for example, let's say the kids get birthday money. Let's say the birthday money is $25. Okay, so if you set the tithing for 10%, you set the short-term goal for, and I'm going to screw up the math, 30%, long-term goal was 40%, and fund money 70, 80, 20%. Okay, I think that's 100. But that's where you have these conversations with your kids. For the parents, this is where you have that conversation of breaking down each of those pockets. Okay. But I want to emphasize this is about building a healthy relationship with money. And, I go back to, for me personally, my situation for the 2017 tax season was a very bad year. Okay. Found myself 2017 in March specifically, unemployed, looking, part of my barrier is looking for that perfect job. And there is no perfect job. In my view, the only perfect job, honestly, is working for yourself. And I know a lot of people go, well, if you work for yourself, you're going to be working not just 40 hours a week, but that's okay. You're in control of that. You're in control of your time. You're in control of, your relationship with clients and how to, network. And, when you're building a business, there's so many factors. When it comes to the regular, normal 9 to 5, we'll just call it 9 to 5 job, there really, in a lot of people's opinion, my opinion too, there really is no perfect job. Okay? So what I'm trying to stress to you is, what is a healthy relationship with money? What does that look like, in the big picture? My original question was, what conversations do you not have with your kids? And again, we're looking at, preteens or teenagers. I mean, can you have conversations about, are you happy at work? Can you have conversations with, fellow co-workers? Can you have conversations with your kids about, looking for new work opportunities? So what does that look like? Apparently that's where the podcasting in the car ended. Snow was starting to come down, and therefore that was the end of the podcast. Anyway, as you heard at the end, I would love to hear your point of view. What are some conversations you can have with your kids that might seem to be adult? That's it.
Thank you for listening to Blending the Family. Click here to return to your normal life. Now in progress.